Imagine you're 17 and you're the future Queen of England and Spain. You've been told your entire life that you are the literal hope of all of Europe. You speak Latin better than your tutors. You ride better than your guards. And you've already been betrothed to a variety of foreign kings since you were 2 years old. Your bloodline is sacred. You were the only surviving child of Queen Catherine of Aragon and King Henry VIII of England. If the chosen one child stereotype has ever existed, in reality, you are it. Now imagine your father, King Henry VIII, wants to erase your mother. Not exile her, not execute her, but have her written out of lineage and out of history and exile her. All because Anne Boleyn, a woman who just showed up at court wearing French dresses and ambition, is going to be his new wife. And Dad wants you to agree on paper that your mother never counted, and that their marriage was a sin, that you were born a bastard, and that your new stepmom is now the legitimate queen. Oh, and by the way, while you're at it, the Pope is no longer head of the church anymore. Daddy is. So now you're in a room with guards at the door, a blank parchment in front of you, and a quill shaking in your hand. Because if you sign the paper and pick your father's side, you renounce your mother and your faith. And if you don't, you lose everything. And if you aren't killed, you enter exile with your mother. This is, unquestionably, the most extreme moment of picking sides between two parents ever presented to a teenager. You're listening to The Re-Engineered You. This is a podcast about self-empowerment and all the myths, lies, and misconceptions we tell ourselves. Then we use science and history to bust those myths and re-engineer a better you. I'm your host, Todd Laments, the extrovert.
And I'm the writer, researcher, and introvert, Joe Anthony, whose job it is to dig through the outer layer of no-duh on the internet.
According to Psychology Today, picking sides isn't just for children of divorcing parents. Picking sides and casting moral judgment can help communities as a whole. This is because picking sides and being vocal about it can potentially resolve conflicts before they start, minimizing the costs associated with conflicts on a societal level. Or to put it another way, if everyone picks sides on an issue all at once, we can get a clear picture of what we want as a community. In this narrow sense, choosing sides is a good thing. It upholds both morals and society. This is the theory of how voting, family, and workplaces operate. But how often are we actually picking sides based on the facts in front of us? How often are we being moral about the team we join? When we pick sides at work, in our family, or in politics, are we really making a just decision? Or are we just choosing whichever side benefits us most, then backwards rationalizing how we made a good moral choice? Myth 1. Does it make us look wise when we don't pick sides, like King Solomon? Or do we look weak when we don't pick sides? What if it's about something that has nothing to do with us, something we won't encounter in our day-to-day? Myth 2. Do we ever truly pick sides for moral reasons? Or do we just agree with whoever's nicest to us or benefits us the most, then make up our reason for picking sides afterward? Myth 3. Do companies, politicians, and businesses gain anything from making us pick sides? If not, why are they constantly trying to make us choose a side, practically at gunpoint? Democrat or Republican, Apple or Android, Coke or Pepsi?
Yeah, you started this episode. This was a Todd venture. Were you thinking of an instance in particular when you threw that at me?
Yeah, I was thinking about people who I've known in success in business and success in life. And they're based on different races, different ages, different intelligence, different backgrounds. But they have one thing in common, is that they're decisive.
Yeah.
They don't overmeasure. They make a move. They don't dwell on it. It's almost like there's no bad decisions. Their decisions is the way to go. They just have this compass.
Okay. when you originally said picking sides, I thought it was strictly, morals, people, politics. And the more I dug into this, the more I realized that you were right. If you look at pop culture, all of our heroes in movies and stuff, they're extremely decisive. In fact, part of the hero's journey, if you just talk purely writing, is that somebody has a fatal flaw or a lie they believe about the world, and that by the end of the movie, they have to change their position on that lie. Or if it's like something called a flat arc, where the character doesn't change, the world around them is the one that changes, like Patch Adams, or insert almost any Robin Williams movie where kindness and goofiness was the way all along. Then the world around them realizes the lie that they have been believing. Um, so picking sides is basically like rooted in our DNA as culture and as people, is the thought that if you pick sides quickly and you do it morally, then you can't go wrong. That's strength. That is decisiveness. Um, and as you and I have gotten older, I wonder if you feel that to be true. Is that like an instinct you're trying to get rid of, or are you thinking that actually might be the way to go?
No, I think it definitely is, because I think what happens is, and I do this, I'm a dweller. So I'll dwell on choices that I've made. And I don't think that there's really bad choices. I think it's just different. You go to a certain company, work in a certain field. There's going to be plus and minuses, but you can kind of spin your wheels and just get miserable by overthinking.
Okay.
What do you think? As getting older yourself, we're aging at the same rate, but I'll always be older than you.
Yeah. Oh, I think that I mean, hell, not even recording anything. I think last week you accused me of being quick as a decider. That I usually try to analyze things fairly and levelly, and then afterward, once I've made a decision, I act on it rather than like him ha or wring my hands about it. But I also try to value reassessment. Like, I will outwardly, it probably looks like I pick sides very quick without, like once I've made a decision, it's done. That's not the truth, though. Like, I pick sides fast, or I make a decision fast with the best information I have. And then later on, I will double check. Like, I look stuff up constantly. I try to double check while I'm in the middle of a process, like, physical or mental. I picked that up from reading Ben Franklin's diary, and you and I have talked about intellectual humility. That's the idea that you realize you could be wrong, or while you're going through your day, you try to find your blind spots, and in finding those blind spots, that's when you have to stop and be like, okay, this decision needs adjustment.
Wasn't that too what the age thing does? Is you've got, you're not puddle deep, you're ocean deep in experiences. So a lot of it is, it's not stuff that you're just making a decision this second. It's based on ex relationships, family
Yeah,
relationships, jobs that you've had, situations you've been in that you probably can't even recall, but there's that ting in the back of your head.
I suppose that's the both the curse and the good part about age is when you're really young, you make a decision fast, and then you stick with it because emotionally it feels good to stick with it. It feels charged. It feels, you're holding up the sword. And when you're older, you make a decision fast because you have more information, and then you worry about it later. You just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was in this yoga class, and there was the most popular yoga instructors. Her classes were always packed, and I remember there's a group of women who were there, in their 50s or 60s, very successful. This is downtown Portland. They're all kind of educated, and the woman was a 30-year-old who does the class, and I said, why don't you guys ever go to their class? And they all rolled their eyes simultaneously and said, well, we can't handle 30-year-old self-help. And I didn't know what they meant at the time, but talking to you now, I know what they mean. Like, when you're young, you make things pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is easy.
Now, this will get into politics too. It can't not. Like, this is, if we're talking about picking sides, we're going to veer, like we said, into family, friends, work, and politics. Those are the four sort of areas or arenas we're going to play in. Um, Picking sides at work is weird. because as soon as somebody asks you to pick sides, don't usually feel like already something's going wrong. Like when somebody asks you to pick sides, it's like, oh, you've messed something up. Like
Yeah,
you wouldn't be asking me this if you had done everything right.
you're joining a gang of some sort, right? You got to go. Yeah, they're making their problem your problem.
Right, exactly. That's what it feels like. Um, but we still want to analyze whether or not it makes you a. I mean, do you benefit from that? That's one of the questions I had while writing this. Is I guess should also start by declaring our own bias toward this. I try very hard not to pick sides while I am at work, like professionally. Um,
I'm the exact opposite. I try to get in as many fights as I can.
no, but those loyalties can benefit you. That's what I'm saying. Is I'm back here. I'm trying to look wise. I'm like, I won't pick sides, but I will decide who gets the baby. You know, like King Solomon. You're over there making loyalties, and like those loyalties pay off, man. Like you make the right
Yeah.
loyalty, and you will get almost nepotism level paydays.
Well, it's true because of the pushback with the boss, which is necessary, right? But
Yeah.
too much of it, the boss is still the boss.
Exactly. Yeah, you can give him your 2 cents and give him wise advice, but if they don't take it and they also dislike the advice you gave, you might be on the chopping block. And then of course, our main subject is the King Henry VIII and how he dealt with his daughter. Now, do you pick sides in family? Because like I was a middle child, so like I got to not pick sides sometimes. I could declare I'm not picking a side, and it made things okay. But in the end, I'm like, no, I regret that. Like it was better. It would have been better to have been decisive in family. And I don't know if that's true for anything else in life.
Were all your siblings from the same parents? Was it a blended? Was it a Brady Bunch family?
No, my sister was from another father.
See, that's a different dynamic too, because that's what I was. I was the child of the first wedding, then another family came along. So because we're talking about the 1500s and all this, royalty and stuff, I was that bastard kid in the family. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh wow.
well, no, you feel that way a little bit because there's like the real core family that's been together and is still together, and you somehow got in by sex. You got in by an accident of some sort.
Yeah, you showed up in luggage, like they unzipped a suitcase and you fell out.
Exactly. And they tried not to answer the door, but they just, it was too late.
So were you a sides picker as a kid in your family?
I think so. I think you tried to, I was very opinionated. I was raised in a family where what I thought mattered. I was able to stand up for myself and talk back. And, what about you?
My family was chaotic and they argued a lot. So picking sides was almost like being on the set of Big Brother. Like it was almost like reality TV where it's like one day you're like, oh, your loyalties lie with, this family member. Okay, well, I'll show you. And then like the next week it's totally different. It's like this person's being nice to you finally. This other person's like punishing you for no reason. You're like, you're forced. Yeah, it was chaos. And so
Sounds exhausting.
I think honestly, the reason why I'm so against picking sides, or honest, it's not I'm against picking sides. I think the reason why I'm against people making you pick sides is because of that upbringing. Now, as an older person, if a politician tells me the other side is evil, I look at them and I'm like, what are you going to benefit if I believe that? Like, how will you make money if I believe you? And that goes for work too. If somebody at work is telling me that this other person has to go, or this shift leader needs to be fired, my immediate thought is still the same. It's okay, if that happens, how do you get paid more? Like, why are you trying to convince me of this? So I've become a real show me kind of person, and I think that's probably because of my family. But it also looks weak. Like I have to, there's no amount of restating that I can do. If you are an indecisive person, even if everybody knows that you are wise and intelligent and thoughtful, it still makes you look weak in the moment. So you have to overcome that by being decisive in other areas. So we're gonna kind of walk through, why we pick sides when it has nothing to do with us. We're going to talk about the emotional intelligence of picking sides, whether or not you can be right or wrong by picking sides. How does it benefit us to pick sides? Like, we're going to kind of like each of our questions about, politics, family, work, and friends. We're gonna crack into those. But we do need to sort of set up some background information on Mary, because the ultimate version of picking sides is, your dad declares himself to be both king and a god, sort of, or the mouthpiece for God, and says that your mom isn't a person anymore and is exiled, and you're a bastard, and like you lose everything both ways. Like there's no winning that, except if you pick one parent over the other. Like you side with the Empress of, or the Queen of Spain, or you side with the King of England. So it's like it's the most extreme version I have ever found of a teenager being asked to pick sides. Like it was, if I I've seen
Uh,
plays and acts about Henry VIII. I think that she gets overlooked. Like honestly, I'm like, why is everything? There's even like a Netflix docudrama about Henry VIII, and it didn't barely touch on this. So I'm like, why isn't she the main character? Like why isn't this decision like
yeah,
a play?
and she was persecuted the most, and you know what I mean. And she went through, and she survived through it. She outlived everybody.
Yeah. And spoiler, what she becomes
I'm
and
gonna
like the
say
people she kills,
you might be able
holy
to,
hell.
you might be able to turn this into the next Hamilton. So you hold on to
I
this
know.
idea.
Oh my god, no! She's gonna rap her way to killing people. It's insane.
Well, Mary was forced to pick between her family and safety. So even after her dad had died, but one of the problems she had after her dad had died was her little brother Edward. And you do you know the story about Edward?
No, I mean, no, I know he was young and he was King Joffrey. Like I think he was literally what King Joffrey was based on.
Well, so he he look. This is sibling abuse at its absolute best, worst, whatever you want to call it. So, of course, when in the kings they want to have a son because that's going to be the next king. So he tried for years. He was getting older. He had two wives and he had three daughters. So Edward came last, and when he finally came, the king was just so happy. I mean, and the whole country was happy. It was celebrated. He was a child star. But his wife, the Edward's mother, the king's wife, died after childbirth from complications. It was a tough pregnancy and it wore her down, and she never really recovered. So even though the king adored his son, he sent him away right away. So to be raised by staff and by other family members who already were getting in his ear. Did you know that they back in the day, Joe, in the 1500s, that they considered royalty? They considered you a grown up at 6.
That sounds a bit weird. Like,
They
what
were
were you
also
doing at 6?
they were
Like,
also they were also shopping you for wives or husbands too.
oh my,
I mean, you
yeah.
had real value. You're like a commodity, you know. Look, hey, I got a boy over here with a penis, you know. How'd you like to marry? You know, it's a pull for power of other countries, right?
I found a picture, a old painting of Mary, Henry VIII's daughter, and like I found a picture of her being betrothed when she was literally a baby. Like they've got her swaddled and like her hand has a ring on it, and I'm like, that's so crazy. or promised. It was promised. It wasn't fully married, but
Well, as this baby was so precious, even though the king didn't spend any time with him, he just spoiled him rotten, right? So the people that were watching over the kid would get sick once in a while and almost near death. But they didn't dare say anything to the king because they knew they'd get all their heads cut off. If anything, that he would blame them, you know, if their kid was sick. But not having a mother, and when I say spoiled, I mean he was spoiled. He read golden books. He ate with jewels, and he had napkins that would have gold sewed into it, disposable napkins. I mean, just stuff you can't even imagine, right? But his first real love, um, his the hero of our story here, Mary, was his older sister, and he was only 9 years old, and he absolutely adored his older sister.
Okay.
And she studied religion. She was a very studious and very faith driven person. And then as he got older, um, he started to suppress. He got into kind of witchcraft. I don't know what you call that. What do you call it? Sorcery, magic, and astrology. He was doing the opposite of Catholicism, and
Right.
then he started to repress Catholics as he got older. And he got a bad case of the measles.
Okay. So I want to like kind of unpack some of this a little bit. Um, did you ever in your family have like a cousin or a like a young baby born, and it was like everybody knew that was going to be the only kid they had?
Oh yeah, right.
There's we have a in my wife's extended family, there's a couple that had a baby, and it's like the first. There's a huge generation gap because no one's having kids right now. Um, and so not only did they have a baby, but they're not planning to have another. So like that kid is the most spoiled thing on earth. They're gonna end up Joffrey. They're gonna end up, like little King Edward. It's crazy.
It's protected. It's you know what I mean. It's
Right. Everybody would throw themselves in front of a bullet to save this kid. Um, that plus Henry VIII went through 6 wives. This was the son of the third wife, I believe,
yes.
Jane Seymour. And so imagine that it's not just going to be like that's probably the only son he's going to have, and he's royalty, and he's king of England, and theoretically, Spain or whatever, wherever else they try to conquer next, if they do. But also, like there can't be. Also, the king at this point has declared himself the mouthpiece of God, and is no longer following, Catholicism. And so it's like there can't be in history a kid that is more like picked out to be like, this is the son that we protect. Like this is the most spoiled person we're ever going to have. And I think that's why Joffrey was based on him, I believe. Um but also, like, if you tell a kid, hey, your dad is speaking for God, there's no way that ends healthy. Like there is no version of history where like in reality, like have you I went over to like did you, like as a kid, did you ever go to like a friend's house and it's like, oh, you're clearly richer than me?
Oh
Like
yeah, absolutely. Like I didn't know that until then. Really, like oh wow.
it just feels weird. You're like, man, you got all the good toys. You got the nice bike. You guys have a pool in the back. It's yeah, it blows your mind.
It's shocking. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, and that's why you act this way. Like when I grew up, I was like, oh, my friends that were like snooty shits. I was like, that's why. Okay, you had everything. Yeah, no, times a million. Like this. So that's what I think about when I think about this kid. So take Mary's plight, where she's told to pick sides between mother and father, and now she has a brother who is both loyal to her and worships her, but is also that amount of spoiled, and she's the cast off. Like she's what you were talking about. Like you came into the marriage, or you came into the family through marriage. She's the leftover bastard who doesn't really have anything to do around the castle, and now she has a younger brother who loves her, but is also like spoiled, rotten.
A mean little boy.
Yeah.
And he likes her a little too much. I think that's what I got from reading. It wasn't healthy. It was a deep kind of love. Almost a romantic kind of love.
Okay. I didn't know that part. That is a little bit weird. So like it's easy, really easy to pick sides when it's family or friends, but the thing that I am seeing more and more with the internet and with like news and stuff are people picking sides when they have no stake in it. Like it's something that doesn't affect them. It affects a fractional minority of people,
Hmm.
and we act outraged about it. Like we get really riled up about something that honestly never touches us in our daily life. Um,
And that we haven't studied more than surface deep either, right?
right. Like we see a headline, we don't even read the article. The headline makes us angry, and then we go on to Twitter or we talk to our bubble, like we talk on Facebook about it. And I know that sounds like I'm kind of bashing on people who do that. I do that. I saw a headline the other day about something called Collective Shout, and it's a group trying to protect kids. But what they're really doing is they're going after visas and like they're going after Steam, which sells video games, and like PayPal, and they're trying to make it to where like if anybody has, it's not about protecting kids anymore. It's anything that has anything to do with violence or lewdness. They're trying to get them, shut down to where like they don't even like payers or pay systems don't accept them. I didn't know anything about it. I saw
Like
the headline. I was
a
immediately angry.
censorship kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, and it's a European thing. But that's emphasis on European. Like I read the headline. I started talking with my friends on Discord about it.
It's not going to affect you in Austin, Texas.
No, never. We're already affected by lots of stuff. Like we have our own censorship stuff going on, and it's totally different, and it affects us in a totally different way.
You're looking to Western Africa for problems. You don't have enough at home, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's not enough going on that I disagree with politically. I got to find stuff. So the question is, why do we do that? Like, it happens on both sides too, politically now. Like, you look at, there are now Democratic leaders who say that they lost the Democrat election because they rode their campaign. They campaigned too much on social justice issues that only affected a small amount of people. And the same thing goes with the Republican Party right now. They won because they made promises about a stable economy, but a lot of their issues they're currently fighting and tackling and stuff are banning things that only affect a tiny minority of people, and they're going after things that are supposedly tainted by a tiny minority of people, when in reality people just want to be able to afford bread and gas and milk. And it's losing them popularity very, very rapidly. Like if you go to like trusted sources for like what is the current approval rating, it's bad. Like it is below majority. It's I think it's like 53 or 54% disapprove right now. So it's like we're all picking sides. I mean, like actively picking sides on issues that we'll never walk out of our house and run into. There's a lot of political issues that we see on the news and we get angry about, and we'll never actually go shake that person's hand. We'll never encounter the kind of specific crime or the kind of specific like like
54%.
I think so. I could check the rating right now.
That's a lot. That's a lot of wasted energy and a lot of wasted stress, right? Isn't it? Or life. Half of your life is dedicated to being focused on things that have nothing to do with you. That's the old mind your own business kind of thing.
Yeah. If people think that's not a bizarre number, like if everybody's like, oh yeah, no, more than half the people don't like what the current political party is doing, go back in history and look at any other political party. They rarely get disapproval ratings that are higher than the majority. That is like more than half of the people in the US right now just wish they would stop. Like, and that's an insane number. That's a shocking number. And that's not me attacking the current party in power. I've said before, I actually dislike the political parties we have. Like, I think they're both stupid. They cast wide tents that I won't go on a rant, but it is about picking sides. Like
you're not a fan of the two-party system. We'll put it that way.
Right. They force you to pick sides about stuff that won't affect you, and they highlight things that are never going to touch you in your personal life. And I swear people fight me on this. And the fight is that they want to care more. I'm trying to argue people away from picking sides. And their argument is, yeah, but what if this does affect you? What if this issue that is like we're focusing on literally a 0.5% of people we're trying to ban from public spaces, or we're going after a micro fraction of people who have done crime in this specific way, and it's like, why you will never encounter that, like you will never walk out of your door and shake that person's hand or be wronged by that person. I mean, like, we should obviously ban all crime and all injustices, but why turn why turn off the drip of regulation for everything, just for anyway. I'm going off, like, I'm getting heated, but when we're talking politics, the money to be made is in making us pick sides. Why does it feel so good to pick sides to the point where we will defend our right to pick sides, is what I'm saying. um I'm not having an argument with a group of invisible people you don't know. um if I tell you, Todd, that it is um ineffective, it's both ineffective and it's counterproductive to America's well-being to pick sides, and I need you to stop watching the news, and I need you to stop picking sides when it's something that is like affecting a minority of people in a fractional way, like a fraction of a fraction. Would you defend that ability? Like,
I think I would still want to have that right to do that, right? Because I still like that feeling
yeah,
of getting of. I think it's fitting in. I think it's fitting in with that team. Does that answer your question?
yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you for dragging me off of my insanity box. Um, if we all decide we want to pick sides, like if we ignore me and we say that we want to pick sides no matter what because it feels good and it gives us something to wake up for, it gives us something to rally about when we go to a political event. We want to pick sides even if it has nothing to do with us. Well, then the reason why we do it is, according to Psychology Today and a couple other sources we're going to link. We do it because it is what we now have a word for it. It's called virtue signaling. But before, it would have been called, just virtue, or it would have just been called, a display of moral or a display of character. Virtue signaling has now become a derogatory term. We don't like it anymore because it usually means somebody is virtue signaling in a way where, they say, I'm for the environment while they hold up a matcha latte triple that's made of a plastic that's going to go right into a landfill. Like, virtue signaling is oftentimes assumed that it is, you say you have a virtue at the same time that you display hypocrisy, like that you do the opposite.
Exactly.
I'm for affordable housing. Meanwhile, I fight affordable housing in my backyard because I don't want them to bring down my land value.
Well, I think it's like the political thing. Unless you're giving money or giving your time, you're not. You're just, it's just for show. It's just showing off. It's just something to talk about, argue about.
Yeah. Good examples of this on a large scale are, I watch the news, I get angry about something, I go out into the street and I literally start a protest. And meanwhile, I'm in a city that already supports the belief I have. So what am I protesting against? Like, I'm just,
it's like the straight parade, right?
yeah. Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, is that, like,
That's what I mean by being on a team. That's what I mean, the social thing of this. Like,
yeah,
to feel like you fit in with this army of people with your same beliefs.
that's exactly it. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for putting words to that. If you are in Portland, Oregon, which is an extraordinarily liberal city, and you're out protesting for a liberal belief, what are you doing? Like, you're just going there to meet up with people who believe the same way that you do.
Yeah, you're
And
not going to flip anybody's opinion.
right,
No one's going to drive by and say, "Oh, I want to,"
everyone's just gonna be like, "Yep, that's
as
how we
you're,
believe."
yeah,
Yeah.
as you're swearing at them.
Same thing with the conservative rallies in the South. Is people will hold a rally and they'll bring torches sometimes, and they'll, or tiki torches that one time, but they'll hold a rally, and it's like, who are you
I,
proving this to? Like, you're just proving it to each other.
No, I liked mine better. That in Idaho that they had the straight parade to kind of to
I thought you were
combat the
joking.
gay.
Was that a
No,
real
no, it's
thing?
a real thing. Yeah, to combat the gay parade, they're like, you know what? That's exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And I question how
Um,
straight these people are in this straight parade. I think if you have to have a parade to say you're straight, you have got some temptation, you know.
yeah. Um, if you are sitting in your living room and you're trying to pass on your morals to your children, that's one thing. That is probably a good thing. Um, I feel maybe it's better to just educate your children about the world
Do
in
you
as
remember
many
some of the
aspects as
crazy
possible.
do you remember some of the insane shit your parents used to tell you that was law?
Did
I
you
am
hear?
I'm gonna debate that because my parents did some weird shit to me as a kid that they probably never should have.
Well,
Especially my grandparents. Oh my god.
did you hear? Did you hear how quickly I corrected myself after saying that? Um, okay, so that is what people want to do. Let me change that. Let's say that, if we're not advocating for you going into your echo chamber and voicing or virtue signaling to the people that are around you. By the way, nobody crosses party lines to argue with each other. There was a it was a communication chart or breakdown by CGP Grey, a YouTuber, and he did a very smart thing. He compared how often people reach across party lines in politics nowadays to accomplish goals, and he did an analysis on how often people talk to each other, um, like how often people talk to each other on Facebook, Reddit, online circles. How often they're talking to people outside of their circle versus the ones inside. Because if you're talking to the people who all agree with you, like on my Facebook group, everybody agrees with me. Politics Facebook group is the name of the group because I'm very generic. We all just bash on the other side. None of us actually goes to argue with the other side because that's dangerous and shitty. We don't want to feel like we're losing an argument. So we just talk about how evil the other side is. And we talk about how screwed up their morals are and how bad they're doing politically and how many, bad, like policies they're pushing. And meanwhile, the other side's doing the exact same thing. And we're making demons out of each other, but we don't actually go talk to each other. And if you think I'm making that up, if you're in a political party and you feel strongly, when was the last time you actually spoke to somebody on the other side? I'm sure you have an uncle that you confronted 3 months ago, but I mean every day. Like, is there anybody from the other
I,
political side that you talk to,
I think
you
it's
know,
the exact opposite. I
on a
think
weekly basis?
you never ever would. You wouldn't
Yeah,
dare.
it would feel frustrating. Like some of the most the people in my life who have the strongest political beliefs, they get the angriest when they talk to the other side. Like they get to the point where they're like, I can't do this. Like it's too much stress. And I agree, but it would be less stress if you talk to each other like real people once in a while instead of just these graphs. By the way, look exactly like a bubble. I'll try to get a picture of it and I'll try to get permission to use it so we can have a picture of it. But um, no, politically, we bubble ourselves off. They actually look like bubbles if you zoom out and look at the collective on a graph, and the lines that go across to fight each other once in a while. It's like a game of Red Rover where everybody is on one side, everybody's on the other side, and then once in a while, one person will cross that gap in on a Facebook graph, like monitoring groups. It's literally like once a week or once every couple of days, one person will go over, try to fight the other side, and then they'll come back and back to the echo chamber.
Well, and you know that just a matter of time that would blow that relationship up, and there would be collateral damage in your other relationships too.
Yeah,
And that's why you wouldn't do it. So you can't do it at work, you can't do it at church, you can't do it. You know what I mean? You just
yeah,
got to bite your tongue, or you make little snarky comments is all you can do, but not enough to really engage in trying to win them over, get them on the good team.
right. I do have friends on both political sides, and I do engage with them very frequently. And my relationship with my I've said before that I don't believe in the political parties currently. I usually skew more libertarian, but I also vote issue by issue. So there's a lot of political issues going on that I don't agree with. my very conservative friend argues with me, and we've been able to have respectful arguments our entire relationship. It's almost been the DNA of our relationship for, almost 10 years now. And this is the only time in our history where we can't talk politics now. Like even though he knows that I'm practically apolitical, that I usually don't pick sides, I don't think whoever is the leader or party that is currently leading, you should always criticize them, even if they're on your team, especially if they're on your team. It doesn't matter who they are.
Absolutely, just like you do your boss at work. You should
Yeah.
be to say, why are they doing this? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but it seems like it's gotten to where you have to and I do that too. It's making me squirm in my chair because I think I act a lot more political than I am with my friends who I know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do it just so they like me. Like what you said in the intro, to agree with me and make me feel.
Right. You're part
I,
of the tribe.
I didn't
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I didn't like that about me.
I've done that in the past at work. If somebody at work assumes that I'm on one side or the other because I know about an issue or I know a lot about, the politics of the day, I'll just let them believe it. I'll let them believe that I'm on their side. In reality, if I told them that I think we should have ranked voting and that political parties should be abolished, they'd probably lynch me. They'd probably tell me get out and don't come back. So this is the most important part of our episode might be the statement that, why do we keep picking sides then if it's both counter, if it burns relationships down, if it makes it harder for us to operate day to day, if it makes us more stressed, even though we're worrying about a tiny fractional minority or a fractional of a fraction as far as like a type of crime that never happens in our real life. Why do we do this? Well, because it's rewarding. It signals to everybody around us that we're in their group. It's stronger than gossip. It spreads faster than gossip. So like gossip ties us together. Like if we talk about people we know, like celebrities, if we're online, or if it's in our personal life, we talk about the people in our lives, and we chat with each other. It binds us as a social group. Well, this binds us as a country. But the danger in picking a side, if it doesn't affect you, is worse than if it does affect you. Because if you pick sides on something, if I pick a side and I will never touch that issue in my real life, what I'm doing is I'm tacitly giving permission to start calling for punishments and controls. So what I mean by that is I used to live in the Pacific Northwest. I had a lot of opinions about immigration, even though you had to go to a contractor company, or you had to go to the west side of our town to find how that was possibly a problem. Like it just wasn't something I encountered in my day to day, is what I'm saying. But I still had strong opinions about it, and
You don't know what it is, but you don't like
exactly,
it.
or like the payment system. And I'm not saying I'm not revealing whether I do or don't like our
Oh, I
current
know.
immigration system. I
Oh, I
think I
know.
think our both the legal system and the system in which immigrants apply for legal citizenship are both broken. In both broken, not in accidental ways either. Um, but I was picking sides on something and I was voicing those opinions, and now suddenly people are making punishments and controls over them. Laws are changing, and if enough of us agree about something that's never going to touch us in our real life, we get those laws and we get those controls, and we start persecuting people. And because it's not us, we're like, oh shit, that got out of hand. I pick sides. Now somebody is being tied to a stake and lit on fire. Um, but at least it's not me. or even worse, I say, oh, I had this opinion last year that those people are bad. Well, now at least it's not me being tied to that stake. At least I chose the correct side to voice an opinion on. Or at least I can just sort of like quietly live my life over here. I can just ignore the issue now that it's gotten out of hand. Um, so that's the danger of picking sides when it has nothing to do with you, is you voicing an opinion on something that doesn't have anything to do with you ends up with laws and controls changing. If enough people voice something, somebody's going to say, let's make a law about that, or somebody's going to say, let's start cracking down on that. So it I don't know. Am I being unfair to people who loudly call for change when it doesn't have anything to do with them?
I'm trying to think about the first thing that popped in my head is the Kennedys, right? They are rich people. They've been rich, generational money, but they genuinely went out with interest to help people with less things. But I think they're the minority. I think what I agree with what you're saying. I think it's they just want to have power,
Yeah.
and
I
and if it doesn't affect them, even better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's literally like picking a fight on the internet where no one's going to punch you in the face.
Yeah. At this current moment in American history, it sounds like we are trying to make a liberal argument, saying that you probably shouldn't pick sides unless you have a dog in that fight. And don't trick yourself into believing you have a dog in that fight just because it feels good to be in that fight. It sounds like we're making a very liberal argument. But what we're actually making is the argument that is pro Protestant England. Like, this is a position that's been held for a very long time. This is not a liberal consideration. This is something that happened in England when they wanted religious freedoms.
Well,
This is something
yeah,
that happened in Egypt
and
when
then
when
onto
Christians wanted
on our
freedoms.
narrative, yeah, I'm thinking, why would King Henry want to pick this fight with Catholicism? What? Why? You know, it's like it's causing all kinds of problems. You know,
Yeah.
with your own people, it's like you're just making your life harder.
This is going to be a weird question, but um, do you think that when people pick sides, it usually means that they have money or like that they benefit from it in some way?
What's your thoughts on that?
Um, I keep seeing people in the news, and this is not this presidency. It's when Democrats last term were being accused of insider trading because they were sitting in positions like they were listening to hearings and they were in special councils and things like that where they could get insider information like Nancy Pelosi trading with pharmaceuticals while she was listening to pharmaceutical reps talk about how they're about to be penalized publicly and dragged through the mud publicly, or both sides. I don't think it's a Republican or Democrat problem. I think it's a politics problem where a lot of politicians are now in positions of very privileged information, and I think a lot of them are making political choices. They're outwardly saying this is a moral issue. We need to be angry about this. Can you guys believe this? The other side is trying to get away with something. Let's stop them. And it's no coincidence that they keep making out like bandits, market trading and manipulating the stock market. Um, the current presidency, when they I don't remember which market crash it was. It was one of the first big tariff announcements, and the market crashed overnight. And then the president on his own social media platform said, "Now's a good time to buy." And he also made a call earlier before that to some of his close advisors and close allies and said basically the same thing. And so there's now evidence, according to the Trade Commission, that there was a handful of people who just made billions, like an amount of money that would confound everybody,
Well,
and then the market re-leveled.
I have an example of that just happened here locally. Intel, the big international company, the administration Trump has stepped in and said that there's an interest in them giving state support to Intel, which of course is exactly what you're talking about. So the very liberal people around here are who work for Intel, are saying, "Oh wow, this is going to raise our stock." And there's a lot of advantages to having the state involved in any kind of corporation, obviously.
Yeah. So we don't have this. This isn't just us bashing on politics for the entire episode. We do actually have an answer to this. Um, there's something called motivational Bayesians, which is for feeling moral while acting egotistically. We're gonna link off.
This sounds like you. This sounds like
Yeah,
I see a picture of you after this.
it is. They want to find out if people are acting with their ego and then making up why it was moral, like they're trying to make money, or they're trying to act out of self-interest and then making up afterward why what they did was moral. And then they want to figure out if there was a time period before we started making moral decisions. So you tell me, um the city library is drawing way too much money from our city budget, and I will say, okay, cut them off. They've got enough books, cut them off. And then later on down the road, I realized that the benefit they're giving back is that, the reason why they're drawing so much money is they installed new computers, and it's making all the kids way smarter. Like actively their grades are going up. Then I reconsider and I say, okay, give them back their money. That's kind of what this is getting at, is that, people make, here's the study basically is, they give participants a choice in outcomes. And if the outcome is hard to predict or ambiguous, like if people are like, you don't know how this is gonna shake out, but you got to make a choice. One will benefit you, the other one will benefit others. People make the self-interested choice almost always. It's more than 73% of the time.
That's
The
interesting. So it's not even close.
No, not even close. I thought it was going to be more ambiguous. I thought it was going to be
I would think
50-50,
so
like where
too.
half
I
of us are
I think
generous.
there'd be a bunch of Mother Teresa's in there, and because of their platform too, that they would try to, you know.
Yeah.
That's disappointing, right?
Yeah, if to state that again, if people don't know the outcome, they choose themselves. 73% of the time, they'll choose whatever profits them. However, the change in this is if the outcome is predictable. If you know what's going to happen at the end and you know what the rewards might be, it goes to 60-40. The majority still go with self-interest, but it does get closer to half and half, where other people are willing to like share the outcome, but they have to know what's going to happen. They have to be pretty sure about what the outcome is going to be. And then there's something else very important from this. This is from the University of Chicago. They revealed that self-interest dominates the early stage of thinking, the early stage of a decision. However, later in reflection, they start considering things, and consideration emerges, and there's evidence that their impulses are less self-serving after they've considered. So if your knee-jerk reaction is, do you want to give this dollar to the poor, or do you want to keep it? Most people will keep it.
So that makes
And
sense, though.
then and then they'll think about it. Yeah.
I think that, and as time goes on, and you meet more people, and you talk to more people and different people, that you start to kind of you move that way, right? You soften.
Yeah.
It's like hearing both sides of the story, right?
That is probably, this study is probably the best argument for why both going slow and considering is how we have the fairest decisions. Um, Rethinking your own decisions is where you come up with the most wisdom, and you can probably correct course when you've done something that's going to be hasty or sabotage you later.
But you're viewed, aren't you viewed as being softer or not as intelligent if you have to think about something too much?
Yeah, and that's why this political party and a lot of other political parties throughout American history, the ones that move the fastest and try to do the most the quickest, usually are looked at in the harshest light later on.
Right, because they did damage that they didn't even know that they were doing, right? So that's why, oh, we've been busier, we've signed more bills, we've put more things in,
Yeah,
with less thought, right?
right. And again, it sounds like I'm bashing on one political party, but like we said, it's better to be. I mean, go back and listen to our episodes during the last administration. I was equally critical. But that's what you want, is you want to be critical. Like everyone should be critical all the time, especially if it's your people in the big decision making house. And that's what people should do, is they should do that with themselves. If you make a moral decision, if you pick sides and it has nothing to do with you, make that side, make that choice, be strong. But really, what you want to do is take some time and consider it afterward and say, am I making this judgment call because it affects me personally in my life? Am I making it because it feels good to talk to my friends online or my friends at work who feel the same way? Am I making this choice because it actually benefits me? I would literally get paid more if the reality I want manifested, or is it something that wouldn't pay me more and doesn't make me more friends? And in reality, it just feels good to be angry about it. Um, and that's the emotion that we end up on is anger. Like when you pick sides, I've never in my life picked a side and afterward didn't feel angry toward another party. And sometimes that's righteous. Sometimes that can be good, especially if it's at work and your boss is being a dick and everyone is siding against them and trying to teach them a lesson. But oftentimes we are picking sides against a religious group of people or another group of people that identify in a different way. In this case that we're talking about, it was the Protestants. So I guess spoiler: Henry VIII died.
Terrible as his son sounded, he sounded way worse. I mean, this guy was.
Is it because he was calling himself the head of the church, or is it because he went through 6 wives? Or
The 6 wives things I can appreciate. The rest of it, yeah. I'm not casting moral judgment, but geez Louise.
Yeah.
I think worshiping your kids to me is kind of just ugly, right? Well, King Henry did that with Edward. He had everything made, everything he wore, how his room was designed, how his bed was made exactly like his, just a smaller version.
He literally had a mini me.
Yeah.
That is so gross.
Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah, it was just everything duplicate. Like, this is how we got to get structure. He's got to learn to, gold curtains is just like mine, the same colors,
He also taught him the same morals.
Yes.
We already kind of talked about this a little bit. If we pick sides, we will raise our kids to pick the same side, which is a weird thing to do. Like, instead of having a kid and being like, here's all the information I had and here's a little bit more, make a good decision. It's, here's some of the information and some of the information I had. You better choose my side. Like, I've already chosen to dislike this group of people, and this brand of Pepsi. You better choose the same thing, and I'm gonna dress you like it too. Like, I'm literally gonna dress you in the same clothes that I wear. Is that weird? Like, I know that's what people do. I go to dinner parties. I've seen kids dress like their fathers or their mothers. Am I weird to think that's strange? Like,
No, I think it's totally weird. And I don't like kids who like their parents. That creeps me out too. You know what I mean? I didn't like my parents growing up. They're keeping us from doing. They were ruining our lives. Right?
I think this might be because you and I came from messed up families. I think being like, you shouldn't be like your parents. You need to like make your own decisions and get information and make a totally different decision. But yeah, that might be us.
I do say that a lot. The parents think they have all this credibility with their kids when the kids can clearly see that they don't have their shit together,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So Edward is made a carbon copy. He's given the same literal gold curtains, gold clothes, yeah, like cloth of gold is what they called it. Dressed the same, given the same religion, told that he is, daddy is God or speaks for God, and you're going to be king, and also you're going to be the head of the Protestant church.
Yeah, he passes away, but he passes on that Protestantism is king now. Catholics are out. And Edward, he's this boy king. He wants to make his cause now is to make one religion, which is Protestantism. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Now Mary, our hero, doesn't take this well, so she starts going to mass 4 times a day and just throws herself at God, constantly praying. She was given a lot of land for choosing her father's side. So this made her very, very wealthy on paper. Now she's wealthy, and she's one of the stubborn Catholic rulers. So he kind of created a monster because she has her own power too, right? And her own entourage of very influential people. That's always interesting to me. The other people that were around them, right? It's
Yeah.
just like Game of Thrones. It really is.
Oh, for certain, yeah. And at this point, like the little boy king is like, Daddy was God, and now I'm a warlock, and everybody in England is a Protestant. But in reality, a huge chunk of England was still Catholic. Like they, almost everybody tried to side with the king because it was popular, and they didn't want to, get punished and ridiculed in the streets, which is actually was happening.
And
But in reality, it was there were still a lot of Catholics around, including Mary.
and then so but her little brother, who she's afraid of because he's so powerful, this little boy, he's Catholic, and then she has to go against him, and she has to choose sides again. What she's going to do? She can either remain Protestant, inherit the throne, when her brother dies. So she's got
Which
another choice to make, right?
And she's older than her brother, so that could just never happen.
This is never going to happen, right? Or she can escape to safety on a rescue ship, so she can run away, and where she can go to exile in Catholic lands. But then she loses all her on paper because she owns property, but property's not really, that's the long game. It's not something you can really sell,
right?
and so she chanted over and over, "What shall I do? What can become of me?" I mean, this is a real turning point.
Yeah.
So she leans on
sounds
it.
like she has a nervous breakdown.
Wouldn't you? Again, this is happening, right?
Yeah. I tried to get a good feel for how big her land was in England, and she was one of the richest people in England just based on the size of her land. But again, she couldn't really do anything with it. Like it was, yeah. She had political power overseas because she was the next heir for, Spain and Catholicism. But in the meantime, like she's got her money in England in property. But what's money going to do when your brother is the speaker for God and also the king?
And could kill you, right? He could kill you
at a whim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. By the way, I something that was happening behind the scenes. I couldn't find the article that I got this from, but there were Catholics in England who were looking to her as sort of their symbol. They're like, oh, if Mary hasn't converted yet, that means there's at least one person, in nobility that hasn't converted. That means it's okay for me to. That means that there's a percentage. It's okay for me to do this. It's okay for me to continue being Catholic. That's important in our psychology. Many episodes ago, we talked about the Ash conformity test, which is you have 8 people sitting in a row in a classroom, and on the chalkboard you have 3 or 4 lines. Every line is the exact same length except one is very clearly shorter than the others, and you go down the row of 8 people and you say, are these lines all the same length? And everybody says yes, because they're all plants, they're all actors except the last person, and the last person has to choose, do I say the truth or do I side with the 7 people before me who lied and said they're all the same length? Most of the time, that person will agree with the group. They'll lie with the objective, obvious truth. And this was done in the 60s, by the way. So like they'll lie and say, oh yeah, no, those lines are the same length, just so they don't have to have an argument. Because like arguing with 7 people sucks. There's no winning, because if you win the argument, you've made 7 enemies.
I was going to say by yourself too. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's what Mary was. One of those people, if any one of them in that line was told to tell the truth, or if any one of those people said, yeah, the lines are different, or even if they said, I don't know, it doesn't look right. And if they also said, by the way, I didn't bring my glasses today, I left them at home, even if they're an unreliable person and they didn't remember their glasses and they still say, I don't know, those lines look different, the person at the end who's the actual tester, the person taking the test, they'll still tell the truth more often than not. So if you have any dissenter, even if they're an unreliable dissenter, say, I'm still going to be Catholic, then the person, the minority will feel more comfortable saying, okay, yeah, no, I also am in the minority. I feel like those lines are different and you're pulling one over on me. Okay, so aside from the Ash conformity test, I did want to bring up the whether it's emotionally intelligent or not to pick sides, because I didn't want to just rely on saying picking sides quickly makes you usually you don't have the right amount of information. Also, you more often than not, if you pick sides quickly, you are almost always choosing the thing that benefits you, not the thing that's morally right. Like we said in our past studies, more than 70% of the time, people will choose with their ego. And then later on, if given more time to think about it, they'll start making more equitable choices. Um, the other part of it is it emotionally intelligent to pick sides? And according to Emotional Intelligence Magazine, no, it is not. They say that the problem with choosing sides is that it creates a black and white, just simply purely by saying you're going to choose sides. Like you must choose a side. You by voicing those words in the air, you make it seem as if there's a win and a lose side. You make it seem as though there's a wrong and a right side.
Don't you also partner with people who you don't believe everything they believe too?
Absolutely.
And then you're stuck with them, and then you don't.
Opposites attract.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't feel that strongly about it,
Crap. Now I got to argue for the rest of my life. Yeah. If you are told to pick sides by anyone, that person telling you to pick sides is almost always trying to paint it as if there is two sides: win, lose, right, wrong, good, bad, whatever it is. When the election happened, somebody in my office was like, "Isn't it crazy that half of America went one way and half went the other way?" And I said, "No, it's not, because that didn't happen. Like 26% of America went one way, 26% of America went the other way, and then the majority in the middle did nothing. Like they they didn't pick a side. But that's currently the state of politics too. Is a lot of people think that it's a red versus blue country. In reality, it's a red versus blue minority on each side with a huge gray middle. The amount of people who no longer identify as either Republican or Democrat far outweigh either party. There's the majority of Americans now are in neither camp, which has never happened before in the history of America, as far as I know, except for if you go back to having 3 or 4 parties. Like when you go back early to America, we didn't have this problem. So we're splitting in an interesting way where there's a good chunk of people, like the majority of people, are now saying, I don't want to pick sides. Like, this is stupid. To take these things into our own personal lives, that happens in family. If your parents are getting divorced and your father says, all right, you're gonna have to pick a side, like, who do you want to live with, who do you think was correct in this, like it makes it seem like, oh, there's a winning and a losing side. There's the one parent makes all the money, and so they're gonna be able to have the kids. Or
I was laughing about this joke. No one's ever complained about living with a single dad. It's the moms that make you do everything. Single dad will treat you like a roommate, let you do
Right.
whatever you want.
Yeah, it's and at work, I get very, very worried when a boss tells me to pick a side. Usually it's not done with high stakes. Like, usually it doesn't sound like anything. It's the boss is like, oh my God, like, we're going to have to explain this to IT. Like, they're not going to understand this. We literally are going to have to go explain this to them. Otherwise, they're not going to understand what sales is trying to accomplish. Even something as simple and sort of like innocent as that in a work setting is still picking sides and making you pick sides to where one side benefits and the other one doesn't. In that hypothetical, that means you're on a sales team that's about to convince IT to do a lot more work to fulfill something that you've tried to say you can do. So it even innocent sides picking is painting things as a black and white and a right and wrong side and a win-lose side. And that's almost always how we approach problems when we start having to pick sides. And that is also according to Emotional Intelligence Magazine.
This is how I feel you said about work things. I have the same fear about religion. Like I'm picking the wrong religion. I'm at the wrong church. I don't know, you know? And so when I side with one or go to one, there's as many things that I don't like about it as I like about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like the stakes are high. If you believe in afterlife or whatever, like if I pick the wrong one,
Yeah.
am I going to live
Burn
in
in
hell
hell.
with these people
Yeah.
I don't like? Wouldn't that be great? You're in hell with all the people from church.
That would
You
be,
can
I
barely
mean, like,
stand them for an hour a week. You got to live with them for the rest of the time.
I was just gonna say that's what you do. Like if you all end up in hell together by some quirk of which religion is right, then you just like have a little church sermon. You do a weekend, you do a Bible study. That's all. Um, yeah, I another thing that I came across in reading this is the reason why it's not emotionally intelligent to pick sides as a habit is because we will blind ourselves to the flaws in our own argument. Especially if we pick a side that is a large side. If we say, I'm with this group, I believe what they believe, there's no way that many people are all wrong all at the same time. Well, if everybody says that, then, you can have huge flaws in your argument. One of the things I came across when we were doing our research, we had an episode where we talked about influencers. And we've also had episodes where we talk about internet debate culture. We had a whole episode about debate, and we took our good examples from the Scopes monkey trial, the lawyers that argued whether or not whether science should be taught beside religion in school at the same time. And this was back in the early 1900s, and it was an awesome episode and a great story. But one of the things we found out is that debate isn't the same as what it used to be. Back in the early political era in America, you were debating the issue and you're trying to prove that your issue is the most correct or the most moral. Nowadays, it's about somebody is in front of a microphone and they're saying debate me to like a group of college students, and they're really just sort of like waiting for somebody to slip up so that they can have a gotcha moment so they can post it on to Twitter or Instagram later so it sounds like they're smart. They're not debating a side. They are trying to find moments that make them look smart or witty. By taking a general side, you basically are deciding I'm not going to look into the flaws and criticism of my own side. And again, that's what we do in both politics and work is if we decide that, oh, I'm on this camp, you turn off the mechanism somehow that makes you criticize your own camp and your own people. That's a horrible flaw. Like if you want to talk emotional intelligence, that's the biggest blind spot you could possibly design for yourself. That is like making a car where half the windows in the back are just papered over. Whatever side you choose, you should become more critical of the side you're on, regardless of which side it is. You should join a group and say, okay, what are the flaws here and how can I be aware of all
and
the
clean it
time?
up. You don't have to change your cause or quit it, but then just say, okay, how do we make this better and make this right? Right.
Yeah. And if you go into a situation realizing that if you choose a side, you should probably identify the flaws right away so you're not making it look rosy, moral, and amazing and like you're always on the side of right. And also by going into situations realizing that if people try to make you pick sides, they're probably going to benefit. Like they're going to make money somehow. If you go into that, according to this article, you can prevent yourself or you can enable yourself to be able to start seeing win-win solutions. You can enable yourself to start seeing ways that you can be morally right while picking a side. So the idea is if you must pick a side, do so recognizing the blind spots of the side you're picking or the flaws of the group you're choosing to ally yourself with. And then also be ready to analyze those as you go forward, because you will inevitably make decisions and pick sides that benefit you financially or benefit your ego or your morals. So you have to both be aware of, what are the flaws of the group I'm in? Also, what am I benefiting from doing this? And am I purely making a decision because it's the right one, or, what am I getting out of this? And then there's a great article I found from Medium. I just want to quote a couple pieces of it. They said their phrasing was fantastic. It was, stop picking sides and just play the damn game. Yeah, it's when the choice becomes about whether or not you'll stand with the group or stand apart from it, you've already lost. And I fully agree with that so much. I'm going to quote them again. They said, quote, "It's a trick choice that daily overrides our ability to be present in the purpose of the world. The real decision isn't which side you're on, or if you stand with the crowd or stand alone. The real choice is between false self and real self. Can you honestly say, between yourself and God, or whatever higher power you answer to, that the choice you make, big and small, embody the things that matter to you most? Or have they been swayed by the crowds?" And that feels empowering, but it's so hard to follow. Like it's almost impossible to follow, to be totally honest. Being yourself, and choosing your own set of morals, and choosing things that don't always benefit you, things that are actually correct or right or moral, but that they don't financially benefit you. That's tough to impossible, especially as the economy gets worse and worse. That is becoming something that is basically you're like, yeah, I could be myself. I could champion me instead of picking a side between them, those two groups. But in reality, you may not make enough money in life if you do that. You may not, policies may not favor you if you do that.
But is there comfort in knowing that there's so many causes that you can find one that's a good fit for you, kind of like a good spouse or partner?
Yeah.
If you take the time, right, and aren't trying to get involved in every fight, like the dog in the fight thing you were saying.
Yeah. I think that part of the problem, I 100% agree with you. But also it is so draining and time consuming to do that, to look at
it is.
To look at all the issues going on in the world and read through them, understand them, make a decision about them that is true to yourself and authentic. And then to do that over and over again for every headline that comes up, it would kill you. Like, I think you would literally die of stress. It is so much quicker and easier and less stressful to just pick a side and be like, no, my side disagrees with that, so I disagree with it.
I do have I have an example I want to give that I had a very strong cause when I used to volunteer with the Humane Society, and I was very, very, very anti yell scream about people kill shelters until I got educated about kill shelters and realized that they have to deal with animals that have medical conditions and have behavioral issues that are a danger to themselves. You know what I mean? And once I learned more about it, and then I see people who have this, they kill animals. Well, that's not what they do. What they do is, is being kind, and doing the dirty work that these other places, and these places that don't kill animals, is because they don't accept most animals. They're so picky about what they'll take. That's why they don't have to kill any of them or lay any of them down. So it's deceiving, But
so
I didn't know that.
Non-kill shelters, they don't have to
Oh yeah,
rehabilitate the animal. They're not taking in the ones that they have to like have a vet work on them 8 hours a day.
They just take in the ones that are going to become exactly.
They're ready to be adopted,
right? And so and then they snub their nose at the other places that have to deal with animals that have been abused badly and are aggressive and have health issues.
That is fascinating. I did not know that. So, do we want to talk about how Mary became both a tyrant and also like chose sides, like finally picked her own side, basically?
Yeah, this thing takes another swing. So this is what happens. Edward VI, he was sick. I mentioned earlier he had measles. Well, his measles it really weakened his immune system, and then he got tuberculosis. and ulcers, and had a very painful death. But he had a clear head at death, and before passing, he made sure that his sisters were written out of his line of succession. So they were written out. So he got sober enough and not dead enough. Instead of obeying his father's will, he made his distant cousin, Lady Jane Grey, the Queen of England. Imagine that phone call, right? That messenger, right? Mary was blamed by several advisors for poisoning the boy. And they even kind of discussed, I mean, she's a powerful woman. They even discussed kind of whispers that maybe she should be arrested, but nothing ever came to. And, but Mary now knew that the king had intended for her and her sister to inherit the throne. And she was, bamboozled by her little brother. So she got some troops together and she took off to an old castle because she realized, she thought she was going to be the queen, right? The kid
Right.
passes. That's what the old man said. She gathered 15,000 troops and she retook the throne. And she executed Lady Jane, that cousin, and her father-in-law.
Holy shit.
So, and the father-in-law was the one involved in Edward's will. So she just cleaned house. And then she chose, instead of marrying locally there, she got a king from Spain rather than an Englishman. And the people rebelled. This was like, I mean, this is not something that a queen would do, right? Marry a Spaniard.
Right.
She made a lot of speeches, did a lot of public speaking. She won approval, and she held the city off against the rebels. And then she executed the rebels. I would think she would be above that, wouldn't you, Joe?
I mean, she's basically been a prisoner and a holdout for her religion and persecuted and then written out of the will in an interesting way. Like the King Joffrey on his deathbed is like, make sure my siblings inherit nothing, give it all to a distant cousin. It's like, that might make me angry enough to kill some rebels. Like if people
I'm just
came
what
at me,
these rebels
yeah.
cause, right? These rebels think, oh, how did they think this was going to end, right? They could see that she's a pretty bad bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she married this guy, Philip of Spain. And I think this is really funny. You wrote this in. She was smitten with Philip. But Philip thought she was unattractive. His exact words were, a perfect saint who dressed badly. I can just see this like soccer mom walking through Walmart when he says
that. Yeah. I got frumpy vibes while reading this. I was like, King Philip is this dashing Spaniard, and he shows up and it's like give us a kiss, and she's got like crooked teeth and like dressed terribly, like all poofy and stuff, and like, yeah,
it's like one of those spoof movies. Yeah.
The paintings of her at the stage, Mary, like in her middle years, she does not look good. Like it is, yeah.
It's not a beauty contest, this power thing.
Yeah.
She also started burning Protestants at the stake, and Catholicism was back. So she won her holy war.
Now the Protestant she burned at the stake, I can't say how much has been written about this. Like, we're doing serious injustice to this because the burning of the Protestants, it defined religion, like not just the Protestant religion, it defined Christianity. Like, this is where like serious martyrdom comes from. The images and the iconography of a martyr obviously goes back to Christ, but like making saints out of people who martyr themselves because they won't convert to the new religion or the new hotness, or they won't give up their religion. This is where we get a lot of the imagery from, especially when it comes to like torture and burning. So she was killing leaders of the Protestant faith who just would not go back to Catholicism. And they're like, no, your daddy and also his son were right. We should be following this version of Christianity. When in reality, think about how short of a time that is. Like, if let's say that the current president is like, I am making up a religion right now and I speak for God,
It's like 4
and then
years.
his and then his son upholds it for just a couple of years, like less than a generation, and then they both go away. They're both dead, and it's back to normal.
I think I would be
That's
wish-washy enough
crazy.
to just to let it pass. I think you are stubborn enough to say. I think you'd be one of them burning at the stake.
Oh, I would.
I think I would say, you know what? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go back to have to learn how to do all the Catholic guilt and the Catholic hand signals and everything right away.
Yeah.
uh,
Do you think the stuff in her personal life, like all the negative things that we're about to talk about, do you think the negative stuff was making her want to burn people to stake and
I think it was
fight
I think
Protestants?
it was a combination of power, yeah, and I think that she still believed in what she was doing. This is funny too. Okay, well, this isn't funny. It's very sad. But then she suffered a false pregnancy for 11 months, which we know that's not how long a baby takes. It ended up being a cyst or tumor that made her stomach swell. So
Oh wow.
the false pregnancy made her a joke along the people. And her husband was so grossed out by this, he went back to Spain. That was all he could take. So Mary snapped, and she turned all her attention towards just getting Protestant influence off the continent. And that's when she was referred to as Bloody Mary. Over 300 Protestants were burned at the stake. Sometimes they were tied a little bag of gunpowder around their necks, so they would die with a bang. I mean, sounds pretty cruel, right?
I'll take the gunpowder.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
then burning to death, right? I mean, so
that's such
three,
a crazy, grisly thing to like talk about, and I know that's a bizarre torture, but if you're being burnt at the stake and like flames are licking up your body, like it's like, yeah, no, put the gunpowder around my neck.
this to me looks like she just had a list of people that had wronged her. She killed the religious leader who had overseen her father's divorce, and
Yeah,
we know why that would be. And he was still around, you know. His name was Kramer.
or Cranmer.
Yeah. He was old and he was tired. He repented and publicly renounced his life work, and that should have gotten him out of the execution. But Mary made a martyr out of him, anyways.
That's what she wanted. Like when she was going around killing Protestants, she was telling them, repent, go back, say that,
Yeah, that's
Edward
that's what
was wrong.
that's a
Yeah.
religious thing, is to forgive, right? And then there was a 3-year crop failure. King Philip was cheating on her, and England was losing battles in France. So things were just going from bad to worse. She was she was spending too much time burning Protestants and not keeping her eye on running the country. And she got sicker and sicker, and then she had a second false birth. So she must have had some really bad stomach cancer. And then she just stepped down and made her half sister Elizabeth the queen. Sorry.
Yeah. If you ever want to see some weird stuff for religion and martyrs, look up this Cranmer guy. The way he died allegedly is he's he wrote the confession, he renounced his life's work, he said, okay, fine, Protestantism is flawed, I was wrong, I should have stayed Catholic, yada yada. And then supposedly when he goes to be burned, he puts his arm in the fire that signed the confession. That's the claim to fame for him as a martyr. And there's paintings of this. And so when I say that there's weird stuff that you got to look up about this, those paintings are crazy. Like they're like a heavy metal album for back then.
I just can't believe she only lived to 42 years old, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, in terrible health, and that. I was just thinking that's a lot of things to do in 42 years, right?
Yeah. This is all I knew about her is the end here, by the way. Like her killing Protestants and going mad, and bringing in her half sister Elizabeth, who obviously became Elizabeth. Like she became the greatest queen of England that has ever been. Yeah, I didn't know about her as a teenager, that like she was forced to pick sides and was disowned like that, and like had that massive decision and was like pushed aside by her younger brother. And Like her life is way more interesting when she's younger. Like it's I didn't know any of this basically.
If someone wants you to pick a side, it usually means they're the ones who will benefit from having you on one team or the other. And if anyone tries to make you feel weak-willed or uninformed because you refuse to take sides without all the information, just look at their position and ask yourself, how much are you getting paid to champion your cause? Instead, it's better to remember that as humans, when asked to pick a side, we'll choose the one that suits our own interest 7 out of 10 times, and make up a reason afterward why we believe the side we chose was moral and reasoned. But we've also learned that picking a side out of profit or for our own interest usually occurs in the first stage of making a selection. It's our gut reaction, our instinct, that's telling us to pick the side that will make us the most profit. Want to start making decisions that are moral, wise, and aligned with your real values? Start picking sides late. Give yourself time to consider who stands to make money from having you on their team. Or better yet, don't pick a side at all. Be the wisest person in the room, and instead of picking sides, pick what you believe in and champion that instead. You've been listening to The Re-Engineered You. Thank you so much for listening to this show. You mean the world to us. We have a new episode every week.
Connect with us at www.re-engineeredyou.com. That's why we have research links, show notes, feedback, and blog articles for each of our episodes.
We're not experts in anything, but we've got opinion on everything.